My child, stop for just a moment. Do not let this message pass you by as though it were ordinary. Because what is unfolding tonight was not assembled by accident. Something moved in the unseen realm just hours ago. Something shifted in a direction that involves you directly. And heaven has sent this message not to disturb your peace but to prepare your heart for what is already in motion on the other side of the silence you have been living inside. Tonight is not an ordinary night. Your soulmate cannot sleep. Not because of worry alone. Not because of restlessness without a cause. Because of you. Your presence has filled every quiet corner of their mind tonight with an intensity they were not prepared for. Every time they close their eyes, something pulls them back to wakefulness. Every time silence settles around them, your memory rises through it with a clarity that feels more like a presence than a recollection. They have turned over in the dark more times than they can count. They have stared at the ceiling and asked themselves questions they have been avoiding for far too long. And every single answer has led them back to the same place. Back to you. Stay here. Do not let your attention drift. Because what is happening tonight on their side of this story is something heaven has been quietly preparing for longer than either of you realize. For weeks, your soulmate has been carrying something heavy. Not a burden in the ordinary sense. Something more specific than that. A truth they have been holding in a private place inside themselves, turning it over and over, examining it from every angle, trying to find a version of it that would be easier to live with than the original. They tried reframing it. They tried reducing it. They tried surrounding it with enough distraction that it would stop demanding their attention during the quiet hours. But tonight the quiet hours refused to cooperate. Tonight every distraction fell away. Tonight the world around them became still enough that the truth they have been carrying had nowhere left to hide. And in that stillness, something happened inside your soulmate that has never happened quite this way before. They stopped arguing with what they feel. They stopped negotiating with their own heart. They stopped searching for a more convenient version of a truth that has only ever existed in one form. Do not skip this moment. What is being revealed here is more layered than it first appears. There is a reason tonight specifically became the night when sleep became impossible. Something happened earlier today that your soulmate did not expect. It arrived without announcement. Without preparation. It slipped into an ordinary moment and transformed it into something they will not forget quickly. Perhaps it was something they saw. Perhaps it was something someone said in passing that carried your echo without intending to. Perhaps it was a song or a place or a fragment of a conversation that suddenly made the distance between where they are and where they truly want to be feel completely unbearable. Whatever the form, the effect was immediate and unmistakable. They felt you. Not as a memory. As a presence. As something real and immediate and close despite every physical and emotional mile that has existed between you. And that feeling did not soften as the hours passed. It intensified. It followed them through the evening. It sat beside them during every attempt at normalcy. And when they finally lay down and waited for sleep to arrive, it was still there. Stronger than before. More honest than anything they had allowed themselves to feel in a very long time. Stay with this message. Something extraordinary is still approaching. Your soulmate has been trying to understand why tonight feels different from every other restless night they have experienced during this season of distance. And the answer they keep arriving at is both simple and enormous. Tonight feels different because something inside them has finally stopped pretending. The performance of not caring, the carefully maintained appearance of having moved past what exists between you, the daily effort of living as though this connection does not occupy the most honest part of their inner world, all of it collapsed tonight under the weight of something they can no longer manage alone. They are lying awake right now because the honest version of themselves has finally grown louder than the protected version. And the honest version has only one thing to say. I cannot keep doing this. I cannot keep living at this distance from someone who matters this much. Pause here. Let that settle before moving forward. Heaven wants you to understand something important about what your soulmate is experiencing tonight. This is not impulsive emotion. This is not a passing wave of longing that will quiet itself by morning and leave everything unchanged. What is happening inside them tonight has been building for a very long time. It has been gathering momentum through every week of silence, every day of distance, every moment they chose to push the feeling back down instead of allowing it to rise and be spoken honestly. Tonight the momentum became too great to redirect. And when that happens, when the truth that has been building finally reaches the point where containing it requires more energy than the heart has left, something shifts permanently. Not temporarily. Not until morning brings new distractions. Permanently. Something settles into a new position and refuses to return to where it was before. Your soulmate crossed that threshold tonight. And on the other side of that threshold, one thing has become undeniably clear. They need to reach out to you. Not eventually. Soon. Do not move away yet. There is another layer that changes everything. While they lie awake, your soulmate is doing something they have not allowed themselves to do openly in a long time. They are remembering. Not selectively. Not only the complicated parts or the uncertain parts. Everything. They are remembering the way your presence felt different from everyone else's. The way you noticed things about them that others overlooked. The way conversations with you moved into depth so naturally that they were always surprised to look up and realize how much time had passed. The way your energy made familiar places feel more alive and empty places feel less lonely. They are remembering the moment they first realized that what existed between you was not ordinary. And they are remembering the fear that arrived with that realization. Because that fear is part of the honest accounting happening inside them tonight. They are not only remembering what was beautiful. They are remembering where they failed to protect it. They are remembering the moments they chose silence when honesty would have served you both better. They are remembering the times they prioritized their own comfort over your need for clarity. That honest accounting is not comfortable. But it is necessary. And it is happening right now while you read these words. Stay close. The most important revelation is still approaching. Something huge is unfolding because your soulmate has picked up their phone more than once tonight. They have opened a space to reach out to you and then closed it again. Not because they changed their mind. Because every time they begin, the weight of everything that needs to be said makes the first sentence feel impossibly small. They want to say everything at once. They want the first message to somehow carry all of the context, all of the honesty, all of the accountability, all of the feeling that has been living unspoken between you for this entire season. But first sentences cannot carry everything. First sentences can only open a door. And your soulmate is learning tonight that opening the door imperfectly is infinitely better than never opening it at all. They are preparing to open it. Pause here because what heaven wants you to understand about this moment is crucial. Your soulmate reaching out is not the miracle of this story. The miracle is what had to happen inside them before reaching out became possible. Because the person who will send that first message is not the same version of themselves who chose silence. That version believed that protecting themselves from vulnerability was the same as protecting the connection. That version thought that managing feelings from a distance was wisdom. That version mistook emotional avoidance for emotional responsibility. The version lying awake tonight understands something different. That love which is never spoken eventually becomes a question in the heart of the person who deserved to hear it. That distance which is never explained eventually becomes an answer the other person writes for themselves. That silence which is never broken eventually becomes the ending of a story that was never meant to end that way. Your soulmate does not want your story to end that way. And tonight that understanding has become something they are willing to be vulnerable in order to protect. Do not skip what comes next. This is the part that will stay with you. There is a specific thought your soulmate keeps returning to in the dark tonight. It is not complicated. It does not require elaborate explanation. But it carries more weight than almost anything else passing through their mind. They keep asking themselves one question. If the situation were reversed, if it were you lying awake unable to sleep because of them, what would they want you to do? The answer arrives every time before the question finishes forming. They would want you to reach out. They would want you to choose honesty over comfort. They would want you to trust that the connection was strong enough to hold the weight of an honest conversation. They would want you to believe that vulnerability between two people who genuinely matter to each other is never wasted even when the outcome is uncertain. And sitting with that answer, they realize they have been withholding from you exactly what they would have wanted for themselves. That realization has changed something inside them tonight that will not change back by morning. Stay until the very end. Heaven has one final truth to place before your heart. Your soulmate is going to reach out. The decision is no longer forming. It has formed. What remains is only the choosing of the moment. And that moment is closer than the silence of tonight would suggest. Because what is happening inside them right now is not confusion. It is the final settling of something that has been uncertain for too long into a clarity that leaves no room for further delay. When they reach out, heaven wants you to be ready. Not anxious. Not desperate for a specific outcome. Ready in the way that only genuine inner work can prepare a person. Ready with the fullness of who you have become during the season that tested you. Ready with the wisdom that silence deposited in you even when the silence felt like nothing more than pain. Because you have not been standing still while your soulmate was wrestling with their truth. You have been becoming. Quietly, consistently, without an audience. You have been building a version of yourself that knows its own worth. A version that can receive honesty without losing itself in the receiving. A version that can hold space for another person's growth without abandoning its own. That is the version your soulmate is lying awake thinking about tonight. Not a memory. Not who you were when the distance began. who you are becoming right now. Tonight. In this very season. My beloved child, heaven has not allowed this night to pass without reaching you first. Before the message arrives. Before the silence breaks. Before the first sentence of the next chapter finds its way to you. Heaven wanted you to know that what is coming was prepared long before tonight. That the restlessness keeping your soulmate awake is not random. That the timing of this moment is not accidental. That every quiet season you endured, every unanswered question you carried with grace, every night you chose faith over fear, all of it was building towards something real. Tonight something big is happening. You cannot see all of it yet. But your spirit already recognizes the shift. That is why these words found you at this exact moment. That is why something inside you slowed down long enough to hear them. The silence is ending. The distance is closing. And the person who has not been able to sleep tonight because of you is preparing to finally say what the silence never could. Be ready. Be grounded. Be exactly who you have become. Because they are almost there.